Okay, how was yesterday's assignment? Hmm. All right, got stuck. Easy, medium. Tricky. Hmm. All right, no issues. Let's get started then. So what are we going to be doing today? We'll be looking at some date functions and also uh, different methods in which we can store some temporary data, or different methods in which we can store data temporarily. That is what we'll be looking at today. All right, so different date functions and then methods to store data temporarily. Okay, so here's your first date function. Your problem statement is get today's date or get the current date along with the current time. In order to get this information, there's a direct function called get date. This is your syntax. You select that and you get something. So what is the time right now? The date is 18th of August 2022, and the time stamp exactly at which I executed this query has gotten printed here. So 20 hours, 2 minutes, 39 seconds, and so on. That is your getting your current date. Now, there are many different functions that can be used to extract some part of the date, right? How to extract different parts of the date. So what are the different parts of the date that you have? You have day, then you have month, you have year, what else? Hour, which are second, minute, and so on, right? So how do we go about extracting this piece of information? So there's a function called date part. What date part does is it takes in two arguments, the two arguments being first one being part of the date that you want, and then second being date. Date can be an expression or a column consisting of all date values. This is your syntax for date part. So how about we extract all the different parts of today's date? Let's do that, right? Extract all different parts of today's date. Which is the first one that you want? Firstly, let's get the date, comma, we'll give this an alias as date today. And then let's get started with your day, right? Date part. You want day out of get date, out of current date as day today. You do this. And what do you think should be the output for this? 18. Yep. All right. So you guys remember your unions and how we printed the output from different queries in a single table? You remember that? Unions you all recall, right? Okay. So how about we start printing all of the data in a single output instead of writing different queries? So we'll do that. We'll do some modifications here. Date part, and then this will be day to day as tag, whatever is the tag. What do we get? All right, we have something. Let's get started with our unions now. What do I want next? The month. I copy the same thing. I change this particular piece of text from day to month. And I say month here in the tag. What am I getting? So I'm getting 8 because which month are we in currently? The 8th month, right? August. So that's why we're getting 8 here. Similarly, let's get other piece of text as well, like year. We'll give the tag as year. How about we get some hour value? Our current hour. All right, so we're getting month as 8. Today's date is 18. Current hour is 20, which is 8 p.m. Current year is 2022. So when you look at your date here, you're able to extract the year, the month, the day, and the time values. Can we extract other pieces of information as well, like which is the current day of the week, right? So your week starts from Sunday. So if you count from Sunday, which day is it today? What's the answer for that? If your week is starting from Sunday and today is Thursday, so which day of the week is today? Your week is starting from Sunday and today is Thursday. So which day of the week is today? 5 or 4? 5 or 4. Many are saying 4. Which fifth day of the week? Exactly. So how about we get that information as well? All we have to do is type weekday here and day number of week. There you go. Day number of week is printed as 5. So which quarter are we in currently? What do you understand by quarter of a year, right? You say financial quarter. The earnings of so and so company is this much for the first quarter of the year or the second quarter of the year. So what do you understand by quarters? It, so if you divide the year in 4 different halves, each part of that division is a quarter, right? So which quarter are we in currently? We're in the third quarter. So let's see. Current quarter is getting printed as 3. Now, what else can we get? So which day of the year are we in currently? Right from the first day, which day of the year are we in currently? So that will do day of year. Day number of year, if you say, and you execute this, you will be getting day number of year is 230. So we are currently in the 230th day of the year. Okay. So that was about getting different parts of the date. Simple stuff, right? Just getting the date, which part of the date that you want, specifying your date part function, and get the required result. Okay. So what else can we extract? You can extract the hour, the current minute, the current second. So we'll not look into that right now. Maybe you can try it out later on. Shall we move ahead then? There's one more date part that you can get, which is the current week of the year. So the week number of the year. Week number of year. So right from the first week of your year, which week are we in currently? You can get that as well. Week number of the year. We're in the 34th week of the year. All right. Simple stuff. How are you feeling? So what did we just do? Date part, specify the part of the date that you want. And then secondly, you specified the date. Feeling good? We're just getting started. Okay. So let's look at our orders table. So we have three different dates here: order date, ship date, and the delivery date. We can apply the date part function on any of these in order to just understand how it works on a particular column as well. So problem statement being, get the week day of the order date. So which day of the week was it exactly, right? So what do you want to be doing? Select star and then date part. Weekday, order date from orders. Okay, so from here you're able to get the day of the week on which your order was placed. Let's give this alias as weekday. Okay, getting something. Now here's my next problem statement. Get the details of orders ordered on a Sunday. So what do I do? How do I filter this particular output to get the answer for this particular problem statement? What should I do? Where date part weekday of order date equals 1. Because a week starts with a Sunday, so that's why Sunday is given 1 here. So date part weekday order date has to be equivalent to 1. If it is equivalent to 1, you give me the result. So 705 different orders were placed on a Sunday. All right. So that was date part, but there's a new function called date name. This we looked at yesterday. In order to name the weekday or name the month, this can be useful. So when you look at your output over here, you're seeing ones, right? You're not really sure what these ones really signify. So how about we give these ones a name, right? So let's do that. Select star and then date name, exact same syntax. I want the weekday of order date from orders as weekday. That looks a lot better, right? You now able to understand that, okay? Instead of numbers, I can quickly understand, okay, which order was placed on which day of the week. Here's my problem statement. Get details of orders placed on the weekend. So how would you do this? So I actually define the weekend as Saturday and Sunday. So if it is Friday night, then it is already the weekend for me, but in reality, it is Saturday and Sunday. So what do I do here? Where? So this is what you can do. You can take this and you can say, this has to equate to any of this, Saturday or Sunday. If your date name, weekday, order date value has anything to do with these two strings, then you give me the output. When I execute that, I'm getting all the orders that were ordered on a Saturday or a Sunday. All right. You can use the date name to extract your, the month as well. Let's do that. So problem statement is calculate number of orders ordered in each month, right? So what is the process to be followed? Firstly, let's get the month info for each order. So how would I be doing that? Select star and then date name. Inside date name, I want month and order date as month from orders. All right, now I can see all the all the different months in which the orders were placed. The information is right there. Now what do I do? How do I proceed to get number of orders placed in each month? Okay, I need to be grouping by. So what should I be selecting? What should I select? Date name, month, order date as month. And then what should I do? What is the aggregate function that I should be using here? Count, count star as count from orders and group it by date name, month, order date. Okay, there you go. All the different orders ordered in the different months you're able to get here. All right. Here's my next problem statement. Order the above output in correct order of the months. So I want, it's all jumbled here, right? Feb, June, August, April, May, etc. I want it in the correct order. I want in Jan, Feb, March, April. I want it in that order. So if I simply introduce an order by here, will it work? What do you think? Yes or no? Those who are saying it's you're right, let's have a look. It ordered them in alphabetical order, right? Because all of these are different string values. Your date name function is returning a string value. It is not an integer. So if you were using date part over here instead, let's see what happens. Okay, you cannot be using date part over here. So we'll have to make some modifications. We'll make use of a subquery here. Here's what we're going to do. So we will be selecting both the number of the month along with the name of the month, and then we will do the aggregation of counting. We'll do the grouping. Let's do that first. The date part, month, order date, and then date name, month, order date. Let's give this alias month number, and let's give this alias month, followed by counting of star from orders, grouping by date part and date name. Let's see what we get out of this. So along with the name of the month, you're also getting the number of the month, right? Are you able to follow up until here what I just did? That hmm. All right. So here's what I did. I just made a change in the select statement. Instead of just selecting the name of the month, I also selected the number of the month. How do you get the number of the month? Using date part. We just saw date part. We put date part inside that, you put month and you specify the date or the column which consists the date values. You will get the current or whichever month that particular date is carrying. You will get that, right? The number of that month. That is what I just selected here. Along with that, I selected the name of the month, and then I just did a count aggregation. From which table? The orders table. And then when it comes to group by, I want to be grouping by all the columns that are in the select statement apart from the aggregation column. That is exactly what we did here. Make sense? Okay. So when you look at the output here, you get the same output as the previous one, but additional information is the number of the month. Let's give this also an alias. Count. Okay, month number, month name, and count we are getting. Now we can do an order by, right? Order by month number. All right, we got something. But my problem statement now is get only the month name along with count of orders sorted in calendar order of months. This is my problem statement. So I want this exact same output in this exact same ordering, but I do not want this particular column here. So what I can do over here is I can treat this particular query as a table. how do I treat it as a table here? I put this entire query in brackets. And then since I'm treating this as a table, I need to name this particular table. So I say as some table. Okay. Doesn't matter. You can call it table name or you can call it C. You can call it anything. And then at the starting of your bracket, you want to be selecting something out of this table. So I want to be selecting month and the count from this particular table that is existing inside these two brackets. Okay, this is what I did. Are you able to understand what I just did here? So let's see what we get out of this. We lost the ordering because we did not specify the ordering. Now we can specify the ordering here. At the end of the query, after you have gotten whatever you selected from your table, you can either do some filtering or you can directly do your ordering. So what do I order it on? If I order it on month, I'll be getting this exact same output because month is having string values. So I'll be getting alphabetical order. Yep, you can do month underscore num. And this has to be order by. There you go. Calendar order has been printed along with the count of number of orders. We'll look at this once again. Let me just clear this off. What is the problem statement? Get only the month name along with the count of orders sorted in calendar order of months. This is what we got clear up until here, right? Right. So if I consider this thing entirely as a table and I just select month and count columns out of this particular table, that should do the job for me. All I have to add additional is the ordering. In which manner do I want to sort this output? So that is what I'm going to do once again. I'll take this query. It prints a table here, right? So I can consider this query as a table. How do I consider it as a table is by putting it inside brackets, and then I have to give it a name. I can give it name C or A, or I can just say some table name. Once I do that, I want to be selecting something. So I want to be selecting month and the count. Select month and count, but from where? From where do I select it, right? So I'm selecting it from this particular table, which has the name of some table name. So I need to just specify from over here. When I do that, okay, you cannot put your order by inside inner queries. Ordering can only be done in the outer query. So this is what I got. So when you execute just the query that is inside the brackets, you get this output. But when you execute this combination of queries, which is outer query and also the inner query, you get only two columns. So that is half job done, right? First half of the job was just get the month name and the count of orders. That is what we got. What is the second half of the job? Sort this output in calendar order of the months. So all I have to do now is order it by the numbering, right? January starts with 1, isn't it? So all I have to do is order it by this particular sequence, and that particular sequence is called month num. So I just put it in order by, I execute it and I get the desired result. How are you feeling now? Easy? All right. How will we think like this? Okay. You need to break down the problem statement into different pieces. That is how, and a lot of practice. So let's move to the next problem statement then. Get the total earnings for each year and quarter. So for this particular problem statement, let's find out how many years do we have, right? Find out how many years are we dealing with. So you need to be using your date part, right? Select distinct date part, year, order date from orders. 2021 and 2020. We have 2 years. Did you follow what I just did here? No. Okay. So this is what I did, right? When you select star and then you just select, you want to get only the years of all the order dates. This is what you would be doing, right? As year from orders. Look at your output. So your year column that you just generated here is going to give you just the year of the order date. 2020 is there in the order date, so you're getting 2020 here. 2021 is there in the order date, so 2021 here. That on top of this particular calculation, I said, I don't want all of the columns. I just want to get the distinct values out of the year column. So I just applied distinct on just the year column and I clicked on execute. So I got only the distinct values, 2020 and 2021. Got it? All right. So now it doesn't really matter how many quarters data we have here, right? If it is present, we'll get it. But anyways, let's just have a look at the quarters as well. So what do I do? Select star, date part, quarter, order date as quarter from orders. Done. So each quarter that the date belongs to gets printed here, right? So now let's look back at the problem statement. Get the total earnings for each year and quarter. Essentially, I just want following columns: year, quarter, and total earning by the company. So how am I going to be getting total earning by the company? By summing up all the values out of this particular column, right? And then what do I group once I have summed it up? What do I sum it, group it on? Group by the year and the quarter, exactly. So let's do that then. Finally, select date part. Actually, you can also use date name here. Date name, year, order date. Because you will be getting the year number only. It is not going to name the year for you. You can only name the weekday or the month, right? Okay. And then just for the sake of writing a different syntax, I want date part here for the quarter. and then the order date as quarter. Now what do? I need to also get the summing. Sum total order amount as total revenue from which table? Orders. Okay, so what am I missing here? Grouping. Let's group by date name and date part of which gives you the quarter. Okay, what do we get? There you go. You get the year along with the quarter and the total revenue made out of the quarter of that particular year. Now we can sort this as well by using order by. Order by the year first. What do we get? So you can see you're getting 2020, all the values, all the rows of 2020 first, and then all the rows of 2021 second, because you have ordered it in ascending order of the year. But how do I take care of this particular ordering? I want this also to be in ascending order. So what do I do? I just have to put a comma here and then say quarter. I don't have to specify ascending over here because that is by default. When you execute it finally, you get 2020 and then 2021 because you're ordering in ascending order of the year. And then for the rows having the same values of 2020, how do you want to order them? You want to order them in ascending order of the quarter. So that is why you're getting 1, 2, 3, 4. How are you feeling now? We did the get date, we did date part, we did date name. Jackass. Can't we use alias in group by? No, you cannot use alias in group by because you're firstly gathering all of your information, right? Once you have gathered all of your information and then you're starting to group on things, after you have grouped is when you're finally trying to print the output. So when you're trying to print the output, you go to the select statement. And then there you check in the select statement, what do you really want to print? Do you want to print everything or do you want to print only a specific set of columns, right? So that is why, since you're going to the select statement at the ending, you're like, I don't really know what do you mean by year here, right? Because if you have put it in your select statement, then I'll be looking at your select statement later on only. So you follow the order of execution of the query. That is why you cannot put year over here in group by or quarter over here in group by. All right. Why not date part on here? So you were not actually paying attention. This was just to, show that if you put date name also, you're going to get the number only because you can't really name your year, right? That is why. So even if you put date name over here and specify year, you will be getting 2020 and 2021. All right. Shall we move ahead then? Okay. So here's introducing you to a new function called datediff. I think we used this yesterday as well. So what datediff does is it takes in three different arguments. First one is part of the date that you want to find the difference in, and then you specify the first date value, and then you specify the second date value. This is your datediff. So let's pick up two different dates and try to get the difference between those two dates, right? Pick two different dates and get their difference in days. This is my problem statement. So what I have to do, select datediff. I want to specify the day because I want to be getting the difference in days. And first one can be, let's say today's date. Today's date is what? 2022 08 18. Then let's take a date in the future, 2022. And then, all right, let's give it another year, 2023 08, and then the same date. How about we do that? So what am I going to get out of this? What is output? Yes, we'll be getting the total days, but what's the number? Let's see what we get. 365, because we are checking for a date exactly 1 year after today's date. And luckily, there's no leap year in between. That's why we are getting exactly 365. Okay. Similarly, we can get the difference in months. How many months? 12. How many quarters? 4 different quarters we'll be completing from today's date to the date next year. How about how many years? 1 exact year, right? So that was date diff. Let's try to apply date diff on the on a table. So what's the problem statement? Get the time taken between shipping and delivering the orders. This is my problem statement. What do I do? Select star and then I do date diff. I want days and okay, I'm not really sure what's the name of the column. So let's have a look at the table. Execute. Yes, we did it yesterday, but let's have a look at a few more applications of it. Let's try to use this function in few more queries. So what's the problem statement? Get the time taken between shipping and delivering the order. So ship date and delivery date. The difference is what I need right now. Ship date and delivery date as time, as some time, right? From which table? Orders. Okay, there you go. Let's put it days to deliver from shipping will make a lot more sense. Okay. All right, we have that. So here's my next problem statement then. Firstly, let's get introduced to a new function called date add. If you want a date in the future, this is what you want to be doing. Date part. Yeah, date part or part of the date, and then an integer value specifying how many different numbers later ka date do you really want here, and then the date. So here's my problem statement. Get date 3 months from today. So what will I be doing for that? Select date add. And since it's saying month, then I want to specify month. How many months? 3 months. And what do I do for today's date? I can simply do get date as date 3 months from today. What am I getting? So the date 3 months from today is 18th of November 2022. You got that. So How about we do something else? How about we put a date from the past? 2018, let's say, random number, 2018, 02, 15, as date 3 months from given date. I do this. So what am I getting here? I'm getting 2018, 5th month and 15th date, because that's exactly what we have. It's just adding 3 to this part of the date. Similarly, what if I want to get a date 3 quarters from today? Get a date 3 quarters from today. So what do I want to be doing? Select date add quarter, 3 quarters, and then today's date as date 3 quarters from today. There you go. So 3 quarters from today would be 2023, May the 18th. Suppose get date 2 weeks earlier from today. What do I do for this? It is date add only, but we need to specify a negative number over here, -2 and today's date. So the date 2 weeks earlier from today was 4th of August 2022. And that makes sense, right? Today is the 18th. So 18 minus 14 would give you 4. And that's the rate. How are we feeling? A lot of syntax, a lot of different dates we had a look at. Shall we move ahead? Yep, so many functions. But all good, right? All clear? Nothing blurry. Because when you, how many lines of code have we written? We have written 119 lines of code. If you look at here, 119 different lines of code you have just seen in the last 50 minutes. Too much syntax to remember. It's not too much at all. No. It's just your function, and inside your function, which part of the date that you really want. That's all. All right, let's move ahead then. Problem statement being get those orders which were delivered in the month after the order date. So if I am ordering any particular order today, I want to get those. I want to be getting those orders which were delivered in the next month, basically. That's the problem statement. So what can I do here? Select star from orders. What should I be doing here? This is my orders. We can do it. We can do this in 2 different ways. Actually, we can do this in many different ways, right? So first of all, we need to be comparing 2 different dates. We need to be comparing order date and the delivery date. So we can use date diff in order to find is the difference 0 or is it greater than 0? If it is greater than 0, it has to be equivalent to 1 actually, because I've specified that it has to be delivered in the month next to. Okay, I've specified it after. Okay, so 1 also does not matter. It has to be just greater than 0. So let's look at method number 1 using date diff. So select start from orders where date diff What should I specify inside date diff? Which part of the date are we comparing here? Month. Okay. Month and then order date and then delivery date from. Acha, this is a where condition. So this has to be greater than 0 in order to get those orders only that were delivered in the month next to the month of your order date. Okay. So 2,685 different orders were delivered in the month next to that of the order date. All right. What's a different approach? Exactly. You can play with numbers here. You can say greater than or equal to 1 also. You will be getting the exact same output. It's the same map. Method number 2, using date add. How about we do this? Select star from orders where date add. How do I do this? Date add. Good question. This doesn't actually give the difference in days of 30. That's right. It's just comparing the months. Even if you're ordering it on the 30th of August and it is getting delivered on the 1st of next month, even then the difference is 1. Right. Okay, so how do I go about filtering here using date add? All right, so here's what we are going to be doing, right? There's a function called month. What this does is inside this, whatever date value that you're going to be putting, it is going to print the month actually, right? Let's see that in action. Select month, and if I get the month of today's date, it'll look like this. 8. Similarly, if you want to be getting the day of the month, you can do day, and it's the 18th day of the month. Similarly, you can put year, and inside year you can specify the date. You will be getting the year. So I'll be making use of this particular syntax. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to generate a date in the future from the current order date. Okay. I'm going to generate a date in the future from the current order date. So if I've ordered it today, I'll be getting a date in the future. That is the 18th day of next month. And when I get that date, I will extract the month of that particular date. And then I would equate that to the month of delivery date. Is this making sense? ऊपर से निकल गया. Okay. So here's the logic, right? Take current order date. Generate a new date from this order date that is in the next month. Okay, so you want to be using date add, mention which part of the date you want to be adding, that is month, and then you specify the integer, it is 1 because I want only 1 month ahead, and then the order date. We can do that. Once I've done that, equate the month of this newly generated date with the month of delivery date. This is the logic. Although when we have directly, you know, got hold of the year directly, in this particular statement, we're trying to get it from the other way around. But okay, you need to be aware of different ways in which you can manipulate, right? So this is the logic. Are you able to understand this now? Are you able to catch it? जो ऊपर से गया, are you able to catch it now? Okay, so let's do that then. Select start from orders. Where? Let's first generate a new date, month, one, order date. Okay, now that we have generated a date, we'll put it inside month function in order to just extract its month. All right, we got the month out of this particular newly generated date. Now all we have to do it, equate it with the month of your delivery date. So I have month, inside month I put delivery date. That's all. And we're getting the exact same output, 2685. All right. So that was the application of date diff and date add for the same problem statement. But in here, you need to notice that the problem statement said the delivery date can be any number of months after your order date. But in here, we have just equated it saying that it has to be delivered only in the next month, difference being 1 month only, right? So we got the same output because the data is in such a manner that no orders were delivered in a time span of 2 months or greater than that. All right. So how are we feeling up until now? The logic was very simple. You take your current order date, you took your current order date, and you want to generate a new date from this order date, right? How do we generate a new date? Using date add. You're basically trying to get the month next to your order date. That's all. Once you've gotten it using your month function, you're equating this month value with the month value of your delivery date. And if the months are equal, it's a match, and whichever rows are satisfying that condition are getting printed in your output. Can we directly compare dates? Absolutely, you can. Try it out. All right, should we move ahead then? Instead of month, can we use date part? Absolutely, you can. You can put date part here. Let me show that to you. So instead of month, I'm saying, so this is my date, right? Date add month one and order date will give me my date, right? How about I apply date part on this? Date part, I open my bracket, I say month, comma, and then the date. That's all. Gives me the exact same result. So date part and inside date part specifying month along with the order date is going to give you the exact same result as using month directly, and inside month just giving one argument of the order date. Okay, moving ahead. How to, not how to, get the latest orders info for each customer. So what this problem statement is saying is so your customers have ordered a lot of different orders, right? So how many customers do we have? Select, count, star from customers. We have 525 different customers. And how many orders do we have? 4,999. So 525 different customers have ordered multiple number of times. And so finally we have some number of 4,999. Now I'm saying out of all those orders that each of these customers have placed, you just give me the details of the latest order that you placed. So for that, you have to just apply an aggregate function of maximum. So I need customer ID and then the maximum of order date from orders. We'll give this column an alias as latest order date. Okay, this is customer. We did that. Now we need to be grouping by something. Customer ID. There you go. You got it. Customer ID and the latest order date. Similarly, you can apply minimum in order to get the first order date. Just take this query and replace max with min. So how are minimum and maximum working on your dates is it's your date data type, right? So it is considering all of those dates and whichever is greater in number or whichever is the latest is being considered as being more in value. You can consider it like that, that the later date is having more value. That is why when you apply maximum, whichever date is having, whichever is the latest or whichever you think for your better understanding that whichever is having more value because it is the latest date that will get printed when you're using max. All right. So how about we also add some customer information to the above output, customer names to the above output. How can I do that? Because I don't have any customer information in the orders table, right? I want to be joining the customers table. Select a lot of columns and then get the maximum of order date from orders as A and then join customers as B on A dot customer ID equals B dot customer ID. Now I want to be grouping by something, so I can start giving my customer ID and then the first name plus. Okay, how about we just add the full name, right? So we can do concat first name separated by a space and then the last name. Uh-huh. I need to be specifying which table I am picking the customer ID column from because it exists in both the tables. I can take it from the customers table, doesn't really matter. Okay, we'll copy this and put it here. This has to be grouped by semicolon and then execute. Okay, makes a lot more sense now. But you haven't really given your alias. So let's do that. Full name and latest order date. Okay, so I'm going to go into a little more detail here. Just see what's happening. You see this as over here. Even if I eliminate this as, you see this as, even if I eliminate this as, I want to eliminate this as well. I see one more as, I'll eliminate this as well. Will I get the same output? You'll get the exact same output because whatever piece of text that you're going to be specifying after your column name, and if it is not being separated by a comma, it is going to be considering it as an alias. Same goes here. Whatever piece of text you're writing after your table, even if you haven't specified as before the naming that you're giving, it is going to consider it as an alias. So that's what happened. But using as is recommended just for better readability. That was that. So how are we feeling now? So as is useless is in all alias earlier also. It's for your use. It's not useless, it's for your use. For your better understanding of the query, right? All right. Moving ahead. So that was all about date functions. What did we cover? We covered the get date for today's date. We covered the date part and we extracted a lot of different parts of the date. We did date name in order to name the parts of the date. We named the weekday and the month. And then we did date diff. Finally, we did date add. Are we good with all of these now? Any sort of are we familiar or are we friendly with all of these now? There's no blurry lines between you and these functions. Okay, then we should be moving. Definitely a lot of practice is required unless you get your hands dirty with the code yourself. It will be a little difficult, but you will be given a lot of questions. Don't worry. Moving ahead to the next concept of common table expressions, also called as CTEs, CTE or CTEs if you're trying to say in plural. So what are CTEs? Common table expressions are just a way for you to organize your query, right? So you write a lot of lines of code, you're joining multiple tables, right? 10s, 20s, 30s, different tables. You're an advanced SQL developer and you're trying to join a lot of queries. And once your query is ready, you're getting your output also. But you have come back next day and you're reading your code and you're like, you're not able to understand what's going on in here. So in order to beautify your piece of code is when you can start using your common table expressions. So let's look at our orders table. This is my orders table. I've got a lot of data going on in here. Suppose I want to be considering the payment ID and I'm like, I want to join the payments information in order to understand which particular payment was used for each and every order. So let's look at payments. Here are the different payments that we have along with the payment ID. So I want to join these two tables and only additionally print the payment type along with all the columns from your orders table, right? Print everything from orders along with payment type. This is my problem statement. So I'll select something. We'll get back to that. From, I want to be selecting from orders as A, and I want to join payments as B on A dot payment ID equals B dot payment ID. What do I want to be selecting now? I want everything from orders table, but only payment type from payments table. So if I do select star, and if I execute this, I'll get all the orders column along with all the payments column. In payments, you have payment ID, payment type, and allowed, right? I'm getting all of these, but I want to eliminate these two columns from my output. So how to go about that is just by specifying you want star meaning do you want all the columns or do you want to start specifying the names of your columns that you want? So I want all the columns just from orders, and the name of orders in this particular query is A, right? So I'll just say A dot star. A dot star is going to give me everything from orders table. All the columns from orders table are going to be selected, and then just the payment type I want from the payments table, which is now called B here. We do that, and I'm adding all the columns from orders table, just the payment type column from the payments table. Simple concept, nothing new. Are we good? All right. Now my problem statement is get all orders info along with payment type and customers info. This is what I want. So let's do that. Just building on top of this particular query. We need to be joining the customers table because customers info is located in there as C on A dot customer ID equals B dot C dot customer ID, not B dot, because we have named customers as C. Okay, what else do I want here? I want the first name, I want the last name, and I want the email. Let's say I want all of these info. Okay, I'm getting it. But when you look at this particular piece of information from the top, and when you start visualizing that you're going to be getting a problem statement that is going to involve a lot of data from a lot of different tables, will you be able to understand what's going on in the query? Your query is going to be looking a lot like this, although this does not make any sense. But this is how your code is going to look like when you're going to be joining a lot of different tables. Will you be okay with this sort of stuff? If you have huge intellectual capacity, then definitely go on, give your brain a exercise. But how about we choose to do the smart work? So let's start using your CTE, right? Let's use CTE to get the same result. So you remember you joined the payments and the orders table. How about we save that particular piece of information as a new table? This is my syntax with orders, payments, info as, and then inside this, I will write my query, which I used to get everything from my orders table and just the payment type from my payments table. from orders as A, join payments as B on A dot payment ID equals B dot payment ID, and I'll close this for much more better understanding. This is what I'm doing. I'm saying with orders payments info as whatever is your query inside in here. With this particular query being named as your orders payments info, you select something for me. So after you have closed your bracket in order to say that, okay, this is my query entirely, which represents orders payments info, you select something for me. So select star from, I say orders payments info. What am I going to be getting? You'll be getting the exact same output that you used from here. But now let's start building up on this, right? Let's say we want everything from orders payments info and the first name, last name, and the email from orders from the from customers as D. And then I want to be joining orders payments info as F, doesn't really matter, on D dot customer ID equals F dot customer ID. And since I want everything from F, I would do F dot star separated by a comma. Now let's see what do we get. We got the exact same output as this particular query, but it's a lot more readable, right? So you're saying with orders payments info as this naming is helping you out here understanding very quickly that what am I really doing inside my CTE. Okay, so this particular piece of text is acting as a table, right? You joined your customers with orders payments info. So you must be imagining or wondering that orders payment info must be a table. That is how you join customers with your orders payments info. So it's not actually a table. Whatever you have defined up until here, right from starting with till this closing bracket, is representing your orders payments info, and this orders payment info has scope limited entirely till you start your select and end it with a semicolon. You don't even have to put the semicolon. Wherever you have ended your select statement, you're good to go from there. That's all. You cannot reference this orders payments info in any other query. This orders payments info is going to give you a result set, a particular data in the output, along with whatever manipulations you're doing with your select statement, only for this particular query. Okay. So if I say select star from orders payments info, let's see what am I going to be getting. It's saying invalid object name because orders payments info does not exist. If it exists in the database, it is going to get me some output, but it does not exist. It does exist, but its existence is limited to the scope of this particular select query that you have in here. Okay, following? Can we use subquery? Yes, you can. But then again, subquery is putting your piece of text in between brackets and then referencing it in your outer query. But for much more readability is when you're starting to use your CTEs. Let's look at another problem statement if we are good to move ahead. So can we apply some unions, or can we also, define multiple CTs in a single select statement? How do we do that? So let's get all the customer information who belong to Berlin and New York. This is just for demonstrating how you can apply unions. Don't curse me saying why couldn't you directly put a where condition on customers and get the info? So this is just for demonstrating the use of unions. Get info of customers from Berlin and Sydney. So firstly, let's get all the customers who are from Berlin with, let's give the name of the city as Berlin itself. So with Berlin as, and then select star from customers where city equals Berlin. That's my end of first city. Then I can go to the next line for better readability, put a comma, and then I would say Sydney as, and then I can start off with getting all the data of customers from Sydney. Okay. Now how about I start printing the data from both of these tables using unions? So select star from Berlin, union, select star from Sydney. Okay, so what do we get? Okay, we just have Berlin. Okay, there's just one Sydney, one customer from Sydney, and that is how we got the output from both of these CTs with the help of a union. Is this making sense? Common table expressions making sense? We were able to firstly define CTE in which we joined two different tables and then we referenced this particular CT in order to get the information from the CTE itself along with a different table. So that was just one CT, and in here we try to define multiple CTs, right? You started off with, you then gave the name of your first CT as Berlin, then you said as, started off with a open bracket. Inside your open and close brackets, you put a simple select query. You close your bracket, then had a comma. Then again, you gave the name of your second CT. Point to note over here is both of these CTs are having limited scope just for the sake of this particular query. This particular select query is only able to reference both of these CTs. Right? No other query outside of this particular query can reference what is Sydney and what is Berlin. It is going to throw an error. So point to note, second one over here is that when you're trying to define your second CTE, you do not have to specify with again. You just have to start off with in the beginning of your defining all of your CTEs, and then you can define all of your other CTEs by separating them with a comma and then starting off with giving the name. That's all. Okay. This looks more complicated than conventional method because we don't have a very complicated problem statement as of now. But for now, just understand the utility of your common table expressions. Okay. Along with this, we can specify as many CTs that we want, and not just unions. We can also be joining all of those CTs and manipulating as we manipulate using the select statement. How are we feeling? Any questions on CTs? Should we move ahead? Overloaded, confused, and exhausted. There's a lot of topics to cover, and if we go at this slower pace, we'll be able to cover the concepts clearly, but then we might require some extra classes. Okay, one last, and then we'll call it a day. We'll look at temporary tables. Okay, these are also called temp tables. So what is so special about temporary tables or temp tables? So what is the scope of temporary tables? Temporary tables are used to store data temporarily, as the name suggests. Okay. So what do you mean by temporary? The table exists till the duration of your session. Okay. So when I clicked on new query over here, we opened up, when I click on new query over here, we opened up a new script file, right? What this script file did over here is it created a connection to the data to your SQL server. Okay. A connection was created with the help of this particular script file. So now let's start looking at your temporary tables. Let's create them. So temporary tables can be created exactly like your normal tables. Create table, temporary table, let's say, and then I'm giving ID integer, and then I'm giving name, varchar 20, closing it with a semicolon. So will this create a temporary table for me? Why not no? Right. It's not going to create a temporary table for me. It's going to create a normal table exactly like how we have created so far in the database. So in order for me to create a temporary table, I have to put a hash over here before your temporary table naming. And then when I execute it, it gets executed. Let's see where it is getting stored now. When I refresh the e-commerce database that I'm currently using, I do not see any table over here. So where is it exactly stored? Let's go to the systems databases. This is my systems databases. I have 4 different databases over here. We are concerned with the temp DB. Let's go to the temp DB and expand temporary tables. We see there's a temporary table over here called temporary table, and then we have some random characters added to the name of this particular table. Now, why did that happen? Firstly, let's query the table. Select star from your temporary table. I'm getting ID and name. All right, fine. Now what happens if I create a new connection and I try to query the temporary table data from this new connection? It says invalid object temporary table. Okay. So why is SQL Server giving a different name to your temporary table? When you execute the temporary table from this particular script file, you're getting this output. But when you go back and execute it from a different connection, you're getting invalid object name. So why is this happening? This is happening because your temporary table can be referenced only by the connection through which you made it in the first place. So I made this particular temporary table using this particular connection that this script file made. So that is why I can reference this particular temporary table only in this particular script file, or only in this particular session, or only using this script file which made the connection in the first place. Okay. So that means I can create a new temporary table over here, right? With the same name. And then I can start giving different other column names. Varchar 20, and then email, Varchar 20, close it. All right. So when I came to this new script file, I'm posing as a different user because this is a completely different connection from what we have in here, right? So that is the advantage of that SQL Server is providing to you by adding these random characters to the name of your temporary table. Point one being, you cannot reference this particular temporary table from a different connection or from a different session, or any other user cannot reference this particular temporary table. Only you who has created this temporary table can reference to this particular table. So that is why if any other user by chance is creating a table called as temporary table again, exactly what we created over here, SQL Server will allow him to create this particular table and store the data with the with the exact same name as temporary table. Let's have a look. It got created even though we already have a temporary table with this particular name. Let's see what happened over here. Let's minimize this, refresh temporary tables. We have two different temporary tables now. Let's expand and see what's happening. First temporary table is having some random digit 12 and the other one is ending with 13. So that is the advantage of having temporary tables. So that's temporary table type number one, where only you who has created your temporary table locally can use it or can reference it for your purposes of analytics, and no other user can use it. But suppose you have a problem statement in which you're saying that I want to be creating a temporary table that can be accessed by anyone. Any connection or any user can access my temporary table. So that's a global temporary table. And how do you create global temporary tables? So what you have to do is copy the same syntax, and over here you can put another hashtag. It's not a tag actually, it's just hash. The double hash symbols are going to indicate that it's a global temporary table. Now my question to you is, for this particular temporary table that is going to get created after I click on execute, is it going to add some random characters for this particular table as well? No, right? Because it's a global table. It can be accessed by any person. So that is why it is SQL Server is not giving you the opportunity to create a temporary table with the same name and allow somebody else also to create the same table with the exact same name. Because it's a global table, it is accessible by everyone. So there can be only one table with that particular name. You cannot have multiple tables with that particular name because it's a global entity now. Okay, let's see what happens. TempDB, temporary tables, there you go. First two temporary tables are local temporary tables, can only be accessed by your connections, respective connections by which they were created. On the other hand, this particular temporary table can be accessed by any person. So remember this particular connection that was used to create the global temporary table. Let's insert some values into it. Here's a new syntax to insert some values. Inserting values. Now, this particular syntax can insert values into your permanent tables as well, can insert into your both local and global temporary tables. So what's the syntax? Syntax is insert into temporary table, select. So I want three different columns. I want the customer ID. I want just the first name, and I want the email from customers table. Okay, what happens? String or binary has been truncated. Uh-huh. All right, that's fine. That's because of the data type. Let's try to access the table now. Okay, due to that error, it didn't go in. All right, how about we create a new temporary table and not have email. We'll drop the currently existing table. Drop table, temporary table. This will drop my temporary table. Let's create the temporary table once again, but this time only customer ID and the name. Created. I don't want the email now. Insert it again. 525 different rows have been inserted. Let's read the temporary table now. Okay, whatever I inserted from here, I selected customer ID in the first name. Both of them have been inserted into my temporary table. Fine. Now, can I access this global temporary table in my other connection? I go to my other connection, I paste the same query, and then I try to execute it. What do I have? I have an output because it's a global temporary table and it can be accessed by any person. All right. So now let's have a look how temporary tables get deleted. We just saw by the use of your drop command, you deleted your temporary table, right? Let's do that once again. Execute it, reload here. And what do we have? Our global temporary table has been deleted and just the local tables remain. Okay, so now we said in the beginning that the temp table exists till the connection is closed. So that means once this particular connection will get closed, one of the tables will get dropped. The table which ends with 13 will get dropped. Why? Because the connection which created it has been ended now. So let's see what happens. Close this. Saving the script file doesn't really matter. The connection is getting closed. Now let's try to refresh here. Minimize, refresh. And since I close that particular session, the session which created the temporary table ending with a 13 also got deleted automatically. That is how temporary tables work. Here's another way in which you can store data in your temporary tables. You can do directly select star, or you can specify the names of the different columns. You have to specify into, do you want a local temporary or a global? Doesn't really matter. It's up to you. Give it a name. Let's give temp orders from orders. So directly, all the rows from your orders table have been transferred to a new table, which is a local temporary table called temp orders. Do we have it? Temporary tables. We do have temp orders here, but it has been given a different code because SQL Server is allowing other users also to create a temporary table called temp orders. Okay, finally, what happens if I try to query the data from my temp orders? I execute this. Oops. Invalid. Okay. How about I select all of the data from orders into a global temporary table? Go global temp orders. I'm naming it. I execute it. So global temp orders was created in this particular connection. I go to the other connection and I'm trying to query global temp orders. And let's see if I get an output. I'm getting an output because it's a global temporary table. That was it about your temporary tables. We are 10 minutes above time. How is the feeling? So your temporary tables are always stored in your temp DB. First of all, point to be noted there. And as soon as the connection with which you have created your temporary table is closed, your temporary tables, whichever you created using that particular connection, get deleted automatically. There's no more temporary tables over here. Yep. So how are you feeling after today's class? Is it blurry like your self join, or is it all clear? All things clear. Too many functions overloaded, but okay. A lot of practice is required. We'll give you some practice. Yeah. All right, guys. I'll not take any more of your time. Hope you learned a lot. Notes will be provided and a lot of questions to practice as well. That's it from my side. Take care, study well, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye. Thank you. Have a good night.